Hello everyone and welcome to a new video on the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing another top 10, and this specific top 10 is going to be for Ben Affleck films. Now I will mention before I get started, this does not include Gone Baby Gone, as in I am obviously going to include the ones that he has directed, because other than Gone Baby Gone he starred in all of them, but because he wasn't in Gone Baby Gone, and this list is specifically for films that he has actually been in and not just directed, I'm not going to include it, but if I were to include it, it would definitely be on this list because I think it's a fantastic film, so I'll just say that. So if you're wondering why that's not on the list or why I haven't really got it anywhere, that is the reason for it. This is just films that he was in, not films that he was directed, although there are films that he has directed because he has also been in them on this list. Bit confusing, but I think hopefully I've explained that good enough. I've not got many physically to hold. I've got 4 to show physically, 2 DVDs and 2 Blu-rays, mainly because I've just not got around to buying them all yet, but I will definitely be resolving that when I can, because these are all fantastic films, 4 or 5-star films for me. So yeah, I'll get on with my honourable mention to start with, and my honourable mention is the one at the bottom here of this 3-pack, Changing Lanes, which also stars Samuel L. Jackson, and he basically plays a lawyer, I believe, from what I remember. And Samuel L. Jackson is just this everyday man that's struggling to provide for his family, trying to get a house for his kids to live in, and it's about what one moment can do to a person's day, and anger. And basically, all I'll say briefly is they get into a bit of a minor road accident, and then something happens and it escalates, and both of them basically, it's about what happens after a bad day and what can happen and how people can change over the course of a day. And it's a really good thriller, also sort of a drama, and it's quite tight runtime. It's about 90 minutes, I believe, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun, and it really does show what both of these actors are capable of doing, in terms of acting, and it's just one that I thoroughly enjoy and is an easy watch, really. So that is Changing Lanes, which is my honourable mention. Coming in at number 10, which I do not own physically, is a film that was released in 2009, and that is State of Play, which also stars Russell Crowe, Rachel McAdams, and Helen Mirren. And it's basically about this news journalist, a newspaper column, played by Russell Crowe, who is investigating these murders, specifically this murder of this one woman, who is linked with big people, linked in with, and about a congressman as well. I believe Ben Affleck is, I think he's a congressman, if I remember rightly. And it was basically his mistress, and he's somehow involved, and obviously Russell Crowe plays his friend, and he's trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened to this girl, and like it's a massive conspiracy, and it's a really fun time. I did watch it on Netflix when I watched it. I don't know if it's still on there, I haven't checked, but might be, but still definitely worth watching. Helen Mirren gives a fantastic performance, as does everyone of the main cast. It's just a really riveting story, really interesting, and it had me hooked. So another great thriller like Changing Lanes, and again it shows what Ben Affleck is capable of acting wise. So yeah, that is State of Play, which comes in at number 10. At number 9 is one that he directed, and it's one that not a lot of people really like. It's probably his worst considered film directing wise, but I had a lot of fun with it. I've seen it several times now. I do own it on DVD, but I haven't got it to show because it's right under the bottom of my bed with all the DVDs that I'm planning on getting rid of, because I am going to upgrade them all eventually. So I didn't get it out to show you, but that is Live by Night, which was released in 2016, and it's basically set during Prohibition. I think it's, I could be wrong, I think it's in Boston, but I could be wrong. I know it's in the 20s, during Prohibition, 20s, 30s, and he basically plays like a thief. He's like a robber, a criminal, and it's basically just telling about his life and him going up the ranks, sort of. And yeah, it's been a while since I watched it, but I remember it being really good. I can see why people don't like it as much as I do. I just personally like those types of films. Ben Affleck is one of my favourite actors, so it makes me enjoy it even more. It had a great supporting cast as well. Zoe Saldana was in it, played his love interest. Elle Fanning was in it. Chris Cooper was in it. Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, there was quite a lot of people in it. I can't think of any more, but I'm sure there was more people in it. But I just had a lot of fun with it. Thought it was a really good film, so I had to include it on this list. And that is number 9, Live by Night. Number 8 is one. Hang on, I've swapped these around so I can't show this. When I was making the list, I knew the films I wanted, but I kind of got two in the wrong order, so I almost showed the wrong one. But coming in at number 8, I don't know physically yet, which is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Great film, probably my favourite DCEU film. I'd give it probably a 4.5 stars, 4 stars. The only other DCEU film would be, or two DCEU films that are any close, Shazam, which is really fun time, but I've not got that yet, and obviously it's not got Ben Affleck in, so I can't include that on this list. And the Suicide Squad, the new one, obviously, which I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it's in the DCEU, but I still had a lot of fun with it. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is the right Justice League. I actually am in the very minority when I say I had fun with Justice League. Obviously the original cut of Justice League. It's not a good film at all. I can definitely admit that. But I'd seen it a couple of times when it first came out. I haven't seen it since. And when I did watch it, I had a bit of fun with it. Not as bad as a lot of people say it is, but it's still not a great film. And then, so they said Zack Snyder's Justice League was coming out, and I was hesitant to watch it because 4 hours, and I thought this is going to be boring. But it was fantastic. The characters were much more interesting. The story had much more depth to it. It was shot beautifully. The story was just great, and it was just what it should have been originally, really. But I don't think personally people would sit in the cinema for 4 hours unless there was an interval in the middle, like there used to be a long time ago. Um, 3 hours is struggling as it is. I mean, Endgame, is completely different because it had my attention the whole way through because it was pretty much action all the way through, and it was just really interesting. Now this was an action film, but it wasn't action from the start to the end. There were bits in it where the story had to obviously progress, and there was backstories told, which was interesting still. And as I said, it's still a film that I really enjoy. So yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League is number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7 is one directed by Gavin O'Connor, and one I desperately need to get because I love this film, and I know a lot of people love this film, but not a lot of people went to see it when it came out, so it didn't do very well. But a few weeks ago, it was announced that a sequel has been greenlit. When that happens, I do not know, and the film in question is The Accountant, which was released in 2016. And as I said, stars Ben Affleck alongside John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick, J.K. Simmons, John Lithgow. Well, there's other people that I'm forgetting, but I'm not going to keep going on because I'll forget otherwise. Not forget, I'll be going on for ages. But it's basically about the title character, the accountant, who is an accountant, but that's just his day job. He actually is like a trained assassin, a hitman, but he's also got autism, which is probably why I connected with the story so much. Now, I don't actually have autism, I have Asperger's, which is technically a form of autism, but I could understand his character, I could see where he's coming from. Plus, it's an action thriller, which is great. Ben Affleck, again, makes the film great, and it's just a great film. Had me really interested, and I am definitely looking forward to a sequel if it does happen, because it is definitely one of his best films. So yeah, number 7 is The Accountant. Coming in at number 6 is a David Fincher film from 2014, and that is Gone Girl, which also stars Rosamund Pike as, well, technically the title character. and it's about a woman called Amy Dunn who basically she goes missing, she disappears, and everyone thinks it's the husband. Everyone thinks that he was beating her, and everyone thinks that he's basically killed her, and he's trying to prove that he hasn't and trying to find where she is. Um, Ben Affleck obviously plays her husband, Nick Dunn, and yeah, it's just a really good thriller. Um, Quite a shocking end. Neil Patrick Harris is in it as well. He's really good in it. Um, but yeah, it's a really good thriller slash drama. Um, just really shows how good Ben Affleck is. And anything with Ben Affleck in nowadays is pretty good. He did go through a few years where he was making really bad films, but then he kind of came back again. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed Gone Girl. I think it's a really good thriller. I really like the ending, and I think it's just a fantastic film all in all. So yeah, Gone Girl is number 6. Now number 5 is the one that I swapped Zack Snyder's Justice League with, which I do own physically, and it is also my favourite disaster film, which you probably can guess what that is by now, and that is Armageddon, which also stars Bruce Willis and Liv Tyler, as well as Billy Bob Thornton and many others. Directed by Michael Bay. I just love this film. The song at the end is great. Just it's really cheesy, but it's just great disaster. This is everything you could ask for in a disaster film. Obviously, it's about a group of oil drillers that work on an oil rig, and they're basically tasked with going in a spaceship or rocket to this asteroid meteor that's hurtling towards Earth and is going to destroy the Earth. And they've basically got to drill into it and blow it up, basically. Bruce Willis leads this team of oil drillers on this mission, and it's just a fantastic film. Ben Affleck plays like sort of his protege, who is in love with his daughter, played by Liv Tyler, and it's just a great film. Billy Bob Thornton plays NASA's director, who is leading the mission from ground control, and I just really love this. I think this, as I say, is everything you could ask for in a disaster film. It came out at the same time as Deep Impact, which I definitely don't like as much as this. Still a decent film, but this is fantastic. So yeah, Armageddon coming in at number 5. And then number 4 is another film. The next two films are ones that he has directed and also starred in. Number 4 is The Town, which was released in 2010, and as I said, he also directed this film. In this film, he plays a bank robber, excuse me, who basically wants to get out of the life, wants to have a normal life, but he has to do this one last job. He actually falls in love with one of I think she's like a clerk or a manager of a bank that he robs, and she doesn't know it's him, obviously. But he falls in love with her, she falls in love with him, and then he wants to get out of this life, but the gang or the robbers that he's in with don't want him to get out. It's got Jeremy Renner in as well. As I said, the clerk is played by Rebecca Hall. John Hamm plays, I think he plays the FBI agent going after them. You got Blake Lively as like this druggie. Pete Postlethwaite, who I believe plays like this big gangster that he basically does these jobs for. I believe that was one of his last films as well. And it's just a really fantastic, gripping film. The ending, as I said, the last bit, which is at the stadium, fantastic. It's just a great film. He directed it brilliantly, and if you're into those sorts of films, like bank robber type films, then I definitely recommend it to you. That is The Town coming in at number 4. Now into my top 3. The last two obviously I've got, the next one I don't. So coming in at number 3 is a film he directed after The Town, which was released in 2012 and won Best Picture that year, well, the following year technically, and that is Argo. And Argo basically follows the story of this man who is basically, I think he's like a CIA operative of some sort, and he's tasked with going to, I can't think of what country it is, but the embassy, the American embassy is basically taken over. I can't remember what the country is though, and he's basically tasked to get the people out, get them out the country bring them back, his people, the American citizens. But to get into the country and to be able to get close to them, they've got to pose as a film crew, basically making a film. The film in question is called Argo. So they've got to get a director, a screenwriter, all this crew to go undercover, to go into this country to extradite these, extract rather, these U.S. citizens that are. I don't think they get caught. That's not spoiler. Like I mean, as in the embassy, they don't get caught. Um, they manage to escape the actual embassy, but then they have to hide in the country. Sorry, that was confusing because that probably sounded like a spoiler. But what I'm trying to say is they weren't actually in the embassy. They left the embassy, but they weren't. They were hiding in the country because they couldn't escape. Because obviously the country wanted them out, basically. But it's a great film, gripping, really gripping. The ending in the airport, fantastic, and it is overall just a fantastic film. You also got Alan Arkin, who I believe plays the director, the fake director, obviously. John Goodman's in it as well. Yeah, it's just a great film. I definitely recommend it, especially as I say, if you like Ben Affleck and if you like these like true life stories. Really good film. So yeah, that is Argo coming in at number 3. Then coming at number 2 is one that I have. I do own this on Blu-ray. You'll probably be surprised by my first one because it definitely isn't going to be everyone's first pick choice, and it's definitely not his best performance. This film is personally his best performance because it is his most personal performance, I feel, and is one of his latest films, which was also directed by Gavin O'Connor and was released last year in 2020, and that is Finding the Way Back. In this film, he plays, basically, he was a promising high school basketball player, and he kind of becomes a drunk, an alcoholic, and is a bit of a loser. And they ask him to come in and coach this basketball team for the school that he used to play for. And it's just about him with his struggles, trying to get back up on top, as the title suggests, finding the way back. And the reason why I think this is probably his best performance is because it's very close to him, because around the time that he was filming this, just before, he was suffering from alcoholism, and he was an alcoholic. So from what I hear, it was one of his most personal films to make, and it really shows in his performance. I think the story's really interesting. Not a lot of people saw this though, and the reason being is because this was released in America literally as we went into lockdown last year. So we never got it in England until about June when it was released on demand here. So not a lot of people would have known that. And then it just had an under the radar Blu-ray release in early October last year. But I managed to watch it, and I just think it's a great film. As I say, one of his best performances he's ever done, and one that I definitely recommend to you if you're a fan of Ben Affleck's work, because this just shows how good of an actor he really is. So yeah, that is Finding the Way Back, which is my number 2 spot. And then number 1, which is a film I watched for the first time recently, and there are some films I'll say that I watch and I can't place why, but they're just films that I absolutely love. Another film like that was A Walk to Remember, which I watched and I just fell in love with. This was another one. I think this is a great film. Probably not considered a great film by many people. And this is the DVD that I've got of it because there is no UK Blu-ray release, and that is Jersey Girl, obviously starring Ben Affleck, as well as Liv Tyler again, reuniting after Armageddon. And this is directed by Kevin Smith. Um, yeah, I just really love this film. It's obviously about, he's like a career man. There's like a music, I think he's like a big music publicist, yeah. And falls in love with this woman right at the start. And she gets pregnant and gives birth to a little girl here. But unfortunately, his wife dies during childbirth. So it's left to him to look after his daughter, not on his own because he's got his dad to look after her with him, but he basically has to raise her pretty much on his own, and also he has to decide whether he's going to be in her life or he's just going to go back to the city and be the publicist that he is. Although I believe he lost his job, so it would be difficult for him, but he does get an opportunity again to go back and work for this publicist agency, and it's just about him trying to deal with a young daughter, raising her, and trying to basically find love again, in the form of Liv Tyler's character, sort of. I'm not going to really say because they do and they don't at the same time. But yeah, I just love this. The soundtrack for this is fantastic. It's just a really heartwarming story, one that I really love. It's not going to be everyone's favourite of his. It is probably what I would call a guilty pleasure, but it's a fantastic film, I think, for me personally. And if you like comedies, if you like just heartfelt films that are funny and sweet at the same time, definitely check this out because I love this film. It may not be for you, but I just definitely love it, and this definitely should get a Blu-ray release. It probably won't now, but I'd love to have this on Blu-ray one day. So yeah, that is Jersey Girl, which is my favourite Ben Affleck film. Excuse me. And there's it. That is my top 10 with honourable mention list for Ben Affleck films. Um, are there any there that you would have included that I didn't? Are there any on my list that you would also include on your list? Have you seen all of the ones that I mentioned? Are there ones that you've not yet to see? I recommend all of them if you've not seen any of them. Well, there's a couple that you've not seen. Definitely check them out because they just show how good of an actor he is. Um, and some of them are just really good films to me. So yeah, that is it. That's another top 10 list. I will have another one out soon. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a like. If for some reason you didn't like the video, then by all means give it a dislike. But if you do choose to dislike it, I'd appreciate if you let me know why down in the comment section below so I can improve on it in my next video. Um, Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and turn your notification bell on so you know when I have a new video uploaded onto the channel. Comment down below anything and everything. As you will know by now, I will get back to anyone that takes the time to leave me a comment because I really appreciate it and I love interacting with everyone that takes the time to watch my videos. And that is it. As I said, mention down below, have you seen any of the films that are on my list? Are there any that you are now interested in watching? Let me know. And until next time everyone, take care. Goodbye.